James is having tomatoes on some baked potatoes with pizza sauce. There's borage blossoms, are the blue ones, and nasturtiums are the other ones. Zucchini, shallots, and wax beans, kale, and salmon. I'm going to talk about Lovecraft Country, the first bit, and I'm going to talk about the last disc of Pretty Little Liars, complete first season, original sin. And then I'm going to eat my soup, and James is going to talk.
Ultimate sacrifice. I covered all the stuff.
You did? Oh, did you cover all the Egypt stuff? Oh.
Have you still got the Egyptian thing?
Yeah, I do. That's
yeah,
fine.
no, I haven't yet. I've got the little cheat sheet here for it.
So first I'll go through the Pretty Little Liars original sin, and this wasn't on the bottom because I thought it was worth the bottom. I actually enjoyed watching this. If you watched the first part where I reviewed the first 2 of 3 discs, and once I watched the 3rd disc, I was a little bit disappointed, honestly. It was rolling, the story was getting on a roll, and it seemed to be snowballing to something exciting. And I suppose this, it leaves it open for the next season, whatever. But I was really disappointed. So, anyway, but still it was entertaining. Definitely worth watching, even though it's a silly little teen show. Lovecraft Country. This had really great special effects. The music was okay in the background to hear, and not that it really, I guess it wasn't really crucial to the story or anything, but I enjoyed it. And it seemed a little bit, there was one thing that I am a little bit concerned about stuff like this, and I'll tell you why. James had mentioned, sometimes I say things that seem a little bit maybe sexist to him or something, and I don't mean to, but because honestly, I'm the kind of feminist, I believe that most women should be at home taking care of children in the house. That's the kind of feminist I am. So
if they want to.
If they want to, yeah, it's not, yeah, I think that that's the best place. You can't outsource. We were watching, well, actually, she said it in this, so this was Carrie Cooney, UCLA, was talking about how she had a child, and now, there's things in place within the system so that women can work and have a child at the same time. And she was talking about how she had her little baby with her, and she was off on maternity leave, or I guess, and she was watching some CEO who was saying that she wanted to have it all. She was going to be the CEO, and she was going to have a child and everything, and so Carrie Cooney was sitting there going, no, you can't have it all. You can't do this. You can't do it both, right? And because she's being a mother right then, and she's realizing it's a lot of work, and how can you do both? How can you juggle both? So, and the fact is you can't.
The CEO would have kind of like servants.
That's true.
Yeah.
And that's how you do it, is you have servants. But if you think about it, our society made great progress getting women to, the work of women to be recognized. So within the family unit, it used to be the man was the big leader of the unit. He was the one making the money, bringing home the bacon, and if he wasn't in the picture anymore, well, the woman was out of luck, and if he decided he didn't want to have the children just weren't for him in his picture of his future, well, they were out of luck too, and things changed, right? But so now you have, I don't know how I feel about alimony, but in some cases that might make sense. I mean, a woman, if she's at home taking care of the children, well, she can't be out working at the same time. And that's just the fact of the matter. So she is going to have to be compensated for that. But anyway, that's now you have women who they're in these power positions where they are working and bringing home the bacon, and they outsource the child care to servants. Essentially, they're paid, so they're not slaves. But a lot of the time, we see cases where it's people from other countries who are even working illegally. They're not legally allowed to work in the country, that they are doing the housework and doing the whatever. And how is that fair? I mean, we made progresses so that people would be treated equally, and then some people decided to pull people from other countries, or people from very low economic backgrounds into their family unit and not compensate them fairly. So if, say, there's a woman who she's from Ecuador or something, and she's caring for the children, caring for the household in California, and then as soon as the children are grown or whatever, or maybe the family wants to move to Hawaii or something, then her services are not needed anymore, and she is not compensated for the fact that she's been a part of this family. It's not fair. And I don't know how you can crack down on that, because a lot of the time the people who are working in these situations, they want to be able to work in the country, but they're not working legally within the country. They can't do it. It should, when you're not working legally in the country, it's you're doing something illegal. And when the person who is employing you to work illegally in their family unit, well, they're doing something illegal too. What can you do? And it's immoral as well. It's immoral. If this woman from El Salvador, I've heard stories about women in the Philippines. This is not just I shouldn't be targeting just America or whatever, rich people in Silicon Valley who've outsourced their child care. It's people in Japan. I've heard about stories where people in Japan have people from the Philippines or something come in, and they're taking care of the children, they're taking care of the household and everything like that, and they send money back to their families, back to their children, so they're not taking care of their own children. I mean, somebody has to be there to take care of the children. Anyway, you can't just say, oh, I can do it all. Well, you're not. You're not doing it all. You're outsourcing parts of that work to somebody else. And if you're doing that, if you're outsourcing part of the job to somebody else, then they can't do what you're doing. Or, you have then taken that piece of the pie away from them. And you think that you're doing something charitable by employing somebody from El Salvador or from the Philippines, who you're not. You're not. Anyway, so
I suspect in Japan they make them go back home once they're finished doing their job. In other words, they're not given a right
to
live there. And
frankly, they shouldn't have a right to live there if they've been working there illegally. You have to apply
even if they've been working
live in a place illegally, and you have to get a work visa if you want to work in a place. It's anyway.
You don't, just because you work in a household doesn't allow you to move into a household. Just because you work in a country doesn't allow you to become a resident there.
Yeah.
Temporary resident. And, that's what...
But everybody who works in the household they are a part of that family. Honestly, if you're a billionaire and you have security guards, okay, your security guard should be a part of your family. It's like the way it... Anyway, I don't know how to make that work economically.
Well,
but it's not fair to outsource the job and so that you don't have to do the dirty work or whatever, and you get to just keep making more and more money and outsourcing so that you can pay little bits for people to do the work you don't want to do or whatever. And people aren't compensated fairly, is what I'm saying.
well,
I don't know what you can do about
it could be that within the family unit, while they're in the family, it has to be run democratically. So
Yeah,
if you got,
sure.
you got servants.
But if
They have your equal vote with.
But you should be a part of the
CEO.
corporation. Essentially, a family is like a little corporation or something, like a little business unit. And if the business makes money that year, everyone in the family unit should be compensated fairly that much.
Fairly,
right?
not necessarily equally, but
No,
in the
but-
sense that someone who is more valuable. But it should be who gets compensated what should be voted on democratically.
yeah.
Like if you got 3 servants and it's just 2 of you,
Mm-hmm.
no kids or stuff like that, the servants got you outvoted in terms of who gets paid what. Anyway, guys.
I don't know what you can do about it, but anyway, it's got to
Alvin,
change.
open.
And so anyway, how I got onto that
Elvis?
is I was reminded of something that James told me. And who said it,
Back in.
James? It was somebody back in the 70s. And was it? It can't be Sally Field. Oh, who am I thinking of? When they were talking about sexism and how if you put it on, you reverse it, the situation, then you know that you're being sexist. If you say something about like one sex and then you reverse the situation. So say you're saying I don't know.
Yeah, it was.
What's an example?
It was Gloria
Gloria,
Steinem.
that's right.
It's kind of like she didn't use the term, but what's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander.
Yeah.
In other words, you reverse roles and see how ridiculous it seems. Oh, of course, a lot of the stuff nowadays, like affirmative action, is just shameful.
Yeah. And
You do
with
that?
this is very entertaining. This is mostly an African American cast. It's about life in the 1950s in America, and some people have been turned into monsters. There's vampires and stuff like that. These vampire pigs they call them, and it looks like they were once maybe, at least in the case we see, they were white people. And some of them, the ones that we see, were police officers. I shouldn't
If you
laugh.
reverse the role,
I shouldn't laugh. Because this, actually doing things like this, James has talked about revenge racism, and whatever happened in the 1950s, this is years later, and what is happening now? And what will the consequences be?
you can't go around doing stuff like that.
As
and
much
not
as
think
it's
that they're-
entertaining.
Yeah, I know. There's going to be consequences.
Yeah.
And, it,
And I worry
drives
about
people
a lot of
be on the
passive
fence
African
off to Donald
American
Trump.
people who are,
Mhm.
yeah. But anyway, I thought it was funny. Like, I didn't actually notice it when it started. But maybe you did. I didn't, though. With the appreciation of women having bigger lips, all of a sudden women are getting...
I call them duck lips, but yeah.
Yeah, they're getting... What is it? Is it silicone implants? What is it that they're collagen put into their lips? And so they have great big lips. And I didn't notice it for a long time. I just thought, oh, well, you know, people find different things attractive. But really, people are finding, society is embracing some aspects of the African look, I guess, as being attractive and whatever, you know. So there's a lot of women with very fair skin walking around with great big lips, and some people find that attractive and others don't. Anyway, what I find interesting now is there's a lot of people who they're, like, I just automatically thought of The Rock, but it could be whatever, but they're calling themselves black or whatever, and their skin is very fair. Like my skin, you might have noticed, it's not really that fair, and I put on a lot of sunblock. It's zinc SPF 50, a Neutrogena one. It's very good. Anyway, and I'm not paid to say that, I just really like that product. But this main lady, the leading lady in this, she looks a little bit darker on the cover, but she has a very Caucasian sort of build to her. She's kind of petite, and she has the wider hips rather than the rounder bottom, and the little waist and stuff. And her skin is very fair. It's fairer than mine, honestly. She has dark hair.
And she's supposed to be black, then, is she? Yeah. Mm-hmm. It all, you know,
and
people
I don't
are going
know,
around saying...
Maybe in the 1950s, they would have seen her as black. I don't know, but she doesn't look very dark to me. The leading man does. He has the wider nose and stuff like that, so he looks more African. But anyway, I think it's a good thing when people who have a mixed kind of look are being embraced in Hollywood.
Or wherever. There's way too many lines being drawn.
Mm-hmm. But I think it's funny that more people now, if they're mixed, they're kind of leaning towards I'm black rather than, you know. I know they've been taken. I saw them over it's magpies now. They've decided I have good seed here, and they've been coming around. So there's 4 of them, and I think they're siblings. They're really cute. I know you're thinking magpies cute. They are. They're adorable.
Well, people come here and they think they're like. Weren't you saying
at the zoo? The most common people would ask, "What's that beautiful bird?" And I'd say peacock. And that was only at first, but I'd say peacock, because I learned, the bird that they're talking about is a magpie. Every time, the beautiful bird that they wanted to know what it was, always a magpie. And
well, they really are beautiful.
They are beautiful.
Their cry is not beautiful. Anyway.
But Lovecraft Country, it's entertaining. I haven't watched it all yet. I guess I should tell you. I'll give you a little more of a review like I did off Pretty Little Liars. So I'm on disc 2 now. I don't remember when I left off, but yeah, it's kind of done in, there's little horror stories that are connected.
Yeah.
Into a bigger story. And so that's a good way to get people tuning in every week.
Yeah, I've never read any of one person I quite respect. Still do. Saying to me one time, he's not telling. think the 70s. He just was flabbergasted. I hadn't read any Lovecraft and figured I should. Yeah, okay. Horror stuff just isn't.
It's not your bag.
Schedule.
Oh.
10 minutes?
Yep. Yeah, you guessed it right.
Sometimes I
Yeah.
Okay, so you want me to deal with
Some ancient rulers.
So we were talking about the crisis before and during Twoswit's reign. This woman, like it would be part of her thesis, but she doesn't. She's actually talking. Yeah, this is how well off I am. Incidentally, you might be wondering why
The ripped jacket.
How long have I had it?
Well, you can go to
30
them.
years.
Oh, did they close down the silver threads here? Yeah, that's why you have a
I had it once. Yeah, this thing they mended it.
Yeah.
And then it opened up again. It's like a wound. Yeah, you can still see a bit of their mending there at the end of the.
They've probably just moved, you can call.
Yeah, it's possible. They did a good job. I think they worked on something else. I kind of like this coat, but it's just falling apart. I've had it for 30 years. It was a standard issue for the Spitty of Lethbridge. If you work certain jobs. At any rate, so I mentioned, like this woman was saying, is only the Egyptian tradition had this tradition of queens. I mentioned Athaliah and her mom, Jezebel. And I think the Bible says Jezebel was a queen for Ahab, who was the king. He inherited the kingship from his dad, Omri. And I think the Bible says something like, this is maybe the King James translation, that she egged on her husband to do something bad. I think it was killing a guy called Naboth and stealing his vineyard for presumably, I think, for a palace or something like that. And so she exercised some power, if only at second hand. But her daughter actually was a ruler, weirdly enough, in Judah. So she'd been married to the, prince of, the crown prince of Judah. I think that's how it worked out. And then when he succeeded as king and died, then she became queen. And so I guess it was a time of crisis or something like that, but it just was the way it worked out. I mean, she didn't have to. Maybe she was a region or something. Anyway, she was saying, what was it? Biblical, what did she say? Only in biblical record. So, like what she's doing is dismissing it. Jezebel and Athaliah as biblical record. I guess she sees it as being a legend or a myth. Okay, we're in the period of recorded history when we're talking about Athaliah and Jezebel. And if the Bible records it, I mean, this isn't the period of the creation, isn't the period of the Garden of Eden in the biblical record. It isn't the period of the Tower of Babel, the flood, or the Tower of Babel. For this period, roughly 850 BC, we've got the Bible recording 850 and on. We've got the Bible recording Assyrian kings by name. By name. The names are, in some cases, somewhat garbled, but recognizable. And then, much more important, they're recording kings of Israel, and later on, kings of, at least one king of Judah. that are recorded by the Assyrians. Less garbling, actually, with a biblical record, because the Assyrian stuff hasn't gone through multiple recensions. It's from way back when. So they record Hezekiah, they call him the Judahite Jew, and they record Jehu. That's way back when. Yeah, that's so. I thought maybe I would. But no, the Assyrians record Omri. So we'll talk more. I was mentioning earlier, maybe last time, yesterday or something like that, that Merneptah record. He says, "As for Israel, his seed is not." So much for the flunkies, the nifty, shifty, hefty lefties are going around saying there's no mention of Israel in any ancient records outside of the Bible. So of course, the record, it's a legend or a myth. But it's not just the name Israel; it's the entity Israel. The Assyrians didn't call it, except one possible. I think it's something like Serlah, and they say that's Israel. And I'm going, but that's in the Assyrian records, and they say it's Ahab, and it looks like a name like Ahab. Now I'm suspicious of it being Israel. Ahab it's only got 2 consonants in it, and it could be someone else. When you get 2 consonants in something, it's not like 3 consonants. It's it could be a common name elsewhere, Serlaha or something like that. Serlaha, it's Israel. Okay, it could be, but there's just no getting over it. Ahab's dad was called Omri, and what the Assyrians, aside from this one thing that should be contested or something like that, mention of Ahab, Israel, Serlah. Like they mention several times, the Assyrians do Bit Omri. So that's like Beth Omri. What does Beth mean in Hebrew? Bit. It's the same thing. It means house. House. It's a dynasty. House of Omri. Now, even after it wasn't the dynasty of Omri anymore, they still called it Bit Omri. And you stupid flunkies who are going around saying there's no mention of Israel. See, no mention by name of Israel outside. You're even wrong when you say that, but there is mention by name of Israel in the Egyptian records, and there is mention of Israel as an entity called Bit Omri. It doesn't matter if it's called something different, you stupid chimps. And it's multiple times. Do your homework. Do your homework. You deserve to have people unload on you like a ton of bricks. How much time?
15 seconds.
Okay, like a ton of bricks, figuratively. I'm tired of you lying hounds. Enough.